Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Small Things Brought Together, the ongoing series where we talk about the small ways that we can bring creativity into our life. It's based on this idea that in order to make some big changes in our life, we don't need to blow it up. In fact, we can just take small steps, and it's more fun to do them together. So, in the first episode, we talked about how we're going to proceed, and we talked about what we needed to gather in terms of supplies. So, I hope by now you have your sketchbook and brushes and ink, and we're going to get started. So, I had this kind of aha moment where I heard some scientists talking about in their study of why some people are creative and others are not. What is it that the creative people do? And I realized that what they do actually is exactly what is outlined in the Yoga Sutra in terms of how we liberate our minds and reduce or even eliminate suffering. So what a fascinating thing that somehow those two things mesh together. So I thought it would be fun to use actually Yoga Sutra 2.1, meaning the first sutra of the second chapter, which is in particular a chapter that lays things out. It's kind of the how-to chapter of the Yoga Sutra. And in his way, Patanjali, the author of the Yoga Sutra, he's not a mystery novelist. In fact, he puts things right up front. And so the first sutra of every chapter is really like putting it right out there. So that's where I thought we'd start. So that sutra, it's written in Sanskrit, which is the language of yoga. It's a very fascinating language. And the way it's written is also leaves a lot of room for interpretation. And there is no shortage of interpretation. So I think we are adding just another layer of a long, long history of interpreting the Yoga Sutra. So Yoga Sutra 2.1 is tapaha svadhyaya ishvara pranidhana ni kriya yoga ha. So let's start with that first word, tapaha, which is just a particular grammatical way of saying the word tapas. Tapas, it means a kind of heat, or sometimes called friction, and that is usually interpreted as meaning discipline. So this is quite fascinating to me because one of the key things that scientists discovered about creative people is that they have a kind of discipline. They do their craft, their art, whatever it is, on a daily basis. And so this is going to be our assignment, or part of our assignment, is to now, I want you to schedule in a minimum of 15 minutes a day, 5 days a week, to work on your art. So what I mean by this is we are not going to just have a nice intention, because, I know I'm pretty good at that, of like, oh, I want to do this or I want to do that, and I'm very well meaning, but then do I ever actually do it? Not always, I'll say. So I want us to schedule in 15 minutes, not try to fit it in. We're actually going to build it in, and there's a big difference there. So my recommendation is that you build it in either first thing in the morning when you get up. So maybe you can do it while you're having a cup of coffee or tea, or in the middle of the day around lunchtime, or at the end of your day. So these tend to be times when we are kind of doing something for ourselves, whether it's having that cup of coffee or having lunch or getting ready for bed. So it's kind of a natural time when we might be able to set aside 15 minutes to work on something in our creative life. And And I'm keeping it to 15 minutes. You, of course, can do more, but I want it to be clear that we don't need to. This is small things brought together, so we're not going to blow up our life. I'm not saying you have to quit your job. You're just going to take 15 minutes. And really, like, seriously, if you need to get up 15 minutes early, I think you can. I know you can. So let's do that. And I'd say however you keep your calendar, whether it's on your computer or your phone or, God forbid, on a piece of paper, you're actually going to block that time out. I keep my calendar on my computer, and I get emails every day with the updates of what's happening. And so it's written right into there, my studio time. And it makes a big difference to get those reminders, and it helps me stay on track. So that's my first part of the assignment, is build it in, don't fit it in. And then the actual creativity part, so working with this idea of tapas again, part of it is an exercise in drawing, and part of it is the noticing. So noticing when you are scheduled to do your creative work, what comes to mind? So are you happy? That's great. Is it irritating because you want to do something else? That's something to notice. And I would say notice as best you can without judgment, because it's actually not helpful to have that, for myself, I'll just speak for myself, to have that kind of scolding that happens, because for me, that's what I do. So I will have an intention, I set it up, it's all perfectly beautiful, set up, ready to do, and then when I don't follow through, then I'm in like scolding mode. So really, it's better to just notice where your mind goes. So I have noticed. That's what I do. I scold myself. And is that really helpful to get me to do it? Maybe sometimes, but not so sure either. So that is part 2 of the assignment, is this just paying attention to what comes up when we do set our intention, and then how do we follow through, and where does our mind go? And then the actual drawing assignment itself. So I really want to keep it simple. And so simple, in fact, that I want to keep it sort of all contained in our own body. So I thought we could do, and also it felt very clever, we would be drawing your breath. So drawing the breath. Because to me, somehow, the state of my mind and the state of my breathing feel so connected, and we can affect one with the other. So if you think about, your breath when you are afraid, sometimes we even talk about, like, I was breathless with excitement. So it's that way that whatever we're doing with our breath is affecting our body and it's affecting our mind. And to me, that is sort of endlessly fascinating. And I thought how fun it would be to tap into that with drawing. So the assignment is that with your sketchbook and your ink and your brushes and water, you're going to set them out in a place where you have some room and you can sit up and be comfortable. And I would actually say to have, if you didn't get a couple of sketchbooks, to maybe pull out some pages so you can lay them all out around you. And I know for some people this is already going to be a little bit upsetting because it's not all contained in one little book. But I think it is helpful to have more than one piece of paper available to you at a time. So you're just going to sit still for a moment, connect to the breath, and then just taking the ink and the brush, you're going to draw your inhale with a line. So just moving the brush across the page for the length of time it takes you to take an inhale. Then just exhale fully, and then continue to do that. And so putting as many inhales as you want to on a page. So if you keep it into your sketchbook, what's going to happen is when you flip the page, the ink is going to dry onto the page that you just flipped. And so it's going to stick together as it dries. So if you don't want that, if you don't care about that, that's fine. Do that. Otherwise, if you have more than one page out, then it can dry and you can kind of stick them all in a folder or however you want to keep them. So you're just going to draw. I'm deliberately being a little vague here because I want it to be, I want to give you as many opportunities to explore it freely, and not rein you in with specific ideas based on my own personal experiences, because really this is about you. So you're going to draw your inhale, and then let's draw the exhale. So same thing again, you're going to sit for a minute, maybe rinse your brush, and take a nice free inhale, and then draw a line with the ink and the brush on the page for the length of your exhale. And continue like that. So nice free inhales, and then draw the line for the length of the exhale. And again, I'm not telling you draw a straight line. Don't draw a straight line. It's really your choice. And just keep going like that. And then maybe after you've done that for several minutes, you will do both inhale and exhale. And that's your assignment. Very simple. And yet. So just to recap, you're going to build in, not fit in, 15 minutes minimum a day, 5 days a week in your schedule for your creative work, which this week will be to draw the breath. Inhale, exhale, and then inhale and exhale, using your sketchbook pages. And noticing what comes up in your mind as you're working, sort of as you're setting down to work and then as you're working. And if you wanted to keep a separate journal just to make some notes of sort of what you're noticing, that might be a nice thing too. And I would be more than happy and thrilled to see if you could share it here in the comments so that everybody can together share in the experience. I think part of what's great about this series is that we are forming a community, and community is so important, especially when we're taking up a creative, or in this case it has a spiritual edge, practice. So let's get to work, and I will see you in a couple weeks, but I look forward to hearing to how it's going. Okay, take care. See you soon.